I really am here to talk some garbage with you. This time last week, I was in Papua New Guinea. I was working with a group of people who have just been tossed aside. Nobody cares about them. Those people are labelled as the misfits, the criminals, the ratbags. They are the Goilala, a tribe of people who are feared. They're the most underprivileged people in Papua New Guinea. One of my experiences when I say that I work with the Goilala, people say, shh, don't tell anyone. They really are not very welcome. Look, I guess that we've all had experiences of being mislabelled or wrongly labelled. Far out. I've been accused of talking garbage so many times that it's actually come true. Without knowing the garbage that I talk about, people really do think that I'm crazy when I say I talk garbage. I don't think I'm crazy, but others do. How about you guys? Have you ever been wrongly labelled? Have you ever been rejected, overlooked, ignored? Have you ever been treated like garbage? It really sucks. It hurts so deeply that those labels permeate every single thing that we think and that we do. It gets inside us, and until we can kick that stinking thinking out of our bodies, nothing changes. But what if you couldn't kick it out? What if there was no way out for you? What if you were totally trapped and you didn't even realise that a positive relabel was something that could happen for you? That happens. That's when it would be really nice to have somebody else to enter from the right stage and to teach you 3 things. They could teach you that you can have a new label. They can teach you a new skill. And they can teach you that it's okay to be different. I want you to meet Helen. Helen is 14 years old. Helen is Goilala. Helen is from those really feared people. Helen grew up in a place called Vada Vada, Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, PNG. Oh, it sounds romantic. It's not. Vada Vada is a very unhappy place where sorcery, poverty, and rascal gangs reign supreme. And actually, when Helen was born, she was gifted. She was told that she could belong to the sorcerers. So Helen's future was to grow up to become a sorcerer, a witch. And I guess there's probably people sitting here amongst you that knows what happened to witches in Papua New Guinea. They still burn witches. A lot of the tribal people are so superstitious that they will burn them. So that was Helen's future. Helen saw her father murdered in front of her eyes. In fear, Mummy ran away and left Helen and her older brother with Grandma. Grandma died. Older brother went to jail. Alone, Helen's options were sorcery, prostitution, or living life on infamous Baruni rubbish dump, a place of absolutely no return with no way out. Wouldn't be very nice to live on the rubbish dump. Operation Food for Life, a charity that I volunteer with, took Helen in, and I taught her to weave. Helen was a fantastic weaver, and I gave her heaps and heaps of praise, and I relabelled her as my star student. As a result of the relabelling and all of the praise, Helen decided that she would come with me to work with the women in Bamana Women's Prison and help the women in prison to weave. So the 2 of us went in as teachers and we did it. Helen's natural kindness and her ability to make no judgments against the negatively labelled female prisoners really impressed me. What I saw with young Helen was that even despite coming from nothing and having no future, when a couple of things were done to her, she was able to help other women. And those three things were an act of kindness, teaching a new skill, and giving Helen a new label. Amazing. There's approximately 500 families living on Baruni Rubbish Dump, and that's where Helen was going. She was going to be one of those families. Amidst the families who have to pick all the rubbish out and they take it away to sell it, they had no other options. Nobody would talk to them. Nobody would do anything for them. And that's where Helen was going, until all of a sudden Helen has got this new skill, and now she can actually collect the rubbish and make something different and sell it into something completely different. I guess you know what upcycling is. Upcycling is when you change something's purpose and you give it a new meaning with a new life cycle. That's what we did for Helen. All of a sudden, Helen is not that forgotten little Goilala girl whose only option was to become a sorcerer's apprentice or to be a street prostitute or live on Baruni Rubbish Dump. Even though they're options, I think we would probably all agree they're not really acceptable options for 14-year-olds, are they? Does anybody want their 14-year-old living that way? I certainly don't. So now all of a sudden, Helen has a new option simply by being shown an act of kindness, being taught a new skill, and having a new label. All of a sudden, she's a teacher. I want to show another example of teaching somebody how to change their life. Meet beautiful Delma. Delma is a 21-year-old single mum. Delma has had to live with her parents in an extremely crowded one-bedroom iron shed with no windows. They cook inside on the ground. That was their life. Delma lives in a tiny settlement that Operation Food for Life supports, so that's how I came into contact with her. Through weaving, Delma has changed her life. Delma weaves, as you can see, she weaves things like this, and then she sells them back to me. I bring them to Australia to sell. But with the first lot of weaving, in the first photo, the first lot of weaving that Delma did, and I paid her the money, she immediately went out and she paid her entrance into Teachers College. I didn't even know she wanted to be a teacher, but she paid her entrance to Teachers College. She also paid for some soccer tuition, and she got a job as a voluntary school teacher. That one little job as a voluntary school teacher quickly changed into Operation Food for Life, providing Delma with a very small stipend and all of the personal products that she needed so that she didn't have to waste her small stipend on those things. Amazing. But best of all, Delma and her 4-year-old son were able to move into their own shed. All of a sudden, she was having a life much more like our own 21-year-olds. So she was living with her little boy in her own shed. But wait, there's more. Best of all is that Delma started to teach her new skill to the other single mums in her settlement so that they also had a pathway out of poverty. What would happen if we all went ahead and we changed the labels on girls like Helen, women like Delma, and certainly the inmates in Bamana Women's Prison? If we changed their labels into something completely different, what do you think might happen? What if we didn't attach those negative labels? What if we didn't have words like settlement girl, Goilala girl, inmate? Now, most of the female inmates are actually there for either murder of their husbands or murder of the second wives. So they're commonly labelled as murderers. Let's get rid of that. What if we change their labels to environmental stewards? Because these women are all cleaning up the environment for all of us. They go out and they now, with the new skills that they have, they pick up plastic from absolutely everywhere, wherever they can, and they wash it in vinegar, and then they weave it into these amazing products that I bring back to Australia to sell. I think it's absolutely fantastic. So let's relabel them as environmental stewards. It would be really nice if we could all change our directions, get rid of the negative labels that we attach to people, start thinking about the good that people do and how we can change their lives just by doing these 3 simple things. And what are those 3 simple things? Let's go back. Maybe. There we go. Acts of kindness, teaching new skills, and ascribing new and positive labels. It's very, very simple. Okay. So, wouldn't it be nice if we could also have a different culture? If we can upcycle broken goods, surely all of us together can normalise a culture where we upcycle people, where we recognise that people might be living with metaphorical garbage dumps inside of them. You know, we heard with a previous speaker where she was talking about some mental health issues along the way, but that's going to be the subject of another talk. So many people have issues inside themselves that we can't see. Let's normalise a culture that treats people positively rather than negatively, using those 3 things. Very, very simple. You don't have to volunteer in Papua New Guinea to be able to change somebody's life. We can start it right here, right now, today. In fact, look around this audience. Look around, everybody. Look at your peers, at your colleagues sitting right here. Look, we've got some people who are alive, some people who are curious, some people who are hairy, and then there's beautiful you. Huh? We're all different, but behind everybody's face, there's not a one of us who actually knows if there's a metaphorical garbage dump stinking up, thinking, feeling, and behaving. It's time to be kind to people. It's time to do 3 small things. In fact, if we go out right now today and we do that change model, so acts of kindness, really easy to do. And I don't use the term random acts of kindness because I invite you today to change that and actually be really intentional and purposeful about the acts that you're going to perpetrate upon random people. So it's an act of kindness, not a random act of kindness. Be intentional and purpose. And I invite you to maybe do 5 of those intentional and purposeful acts every single day. And I have the proof that it changes people's lives. I've just shared with you 2 very simple examples, but there's many, many examples of my work in Papua New Guinea. Look, quite frankly, the bottom line is that upcycling people improves the bottom line. It increases people's happiness, it changes their lives, but more importantly, it makes you feel good about yourself when you're able to help someone else. So this is a double-edged sword. You're doing something to help somebody else, but you're also doing something to help yourself. There is not a single person sitting here today that cannot go out straight after this talk at lunchtime. You cannot not go out and do those 3 simple things. Very, very easy. An act of kindness, reskill, or send somebody to a group who can actually reskill them. Ipswich is full of groups, social groups, all sorts of groups. Connect people with groups that can help teach them a new skill. And then the last one is relabel people. Lose your negative language and give people positive titles. Okay, guys? Upcycling people. Now that's some garbage worth talking about because anything and everything is possible.